We're here to idea everyone, to fire up your curiosity and connect you with the people and ideas that shape our world. Watch, listen, understand, connect, create. Let's move the human story forward together.
Hello and welcome to The Poetry of Science, a podcast which provides insight into new scientific research via the medium of poetry. I'm your host, Dr. Sam Illingworth, and each week I'll be introducing you to some of the latest scientific findings and sharing a selection of science-themed poetry. After all, we could all do with a little bit more poetry in our lives. In this episode, I'll be exploring new research which has found that birds raise fewer young when spring arrives earlier in a warming world. Spring unfurls her green, lessened by the rush of dawn's early touch. For fledglings in nests, the heartbeat of seasons, once steady and sure, now stutters out of sync, and a rhythmic pulse of ill-timed bloom and hasty retreat. Time, like a river, meanders in quiet spaces, leaving fields hushed, drained of vibrant voice and trilling song. A muted echo of the forest's former chorus. In the quieting refrain the day is done, and those who lend an ear, who heed the softening song, bear witness to a hopeless, fading plea. This poem is inspired by recent research published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America, which has found that the climate crisis is altering seasonal timings, causing bird breeding and vegetation greening to fall out of sync. The climate crisis affects our planet in a multitude of ways, some of which might not be immediately obvious. One such subtle but significant impact is on phenology, the study of timing of seasonal biological events such as the flowering of plants or the migration of birds. As the planet warms, the timing of these events can shift. This might not sound like a big problem, but it can create serious issues in the natural world. For instance, if flowers bloom before their pollinators emerge, they may not get pollinated. Similarly, if birds migrate earlier due to warmer weather, but the insects they feed on have not yet appeared, they may struggle to find enough food. The problem lies not just in the shifting timings, but also in the fact that different species are responding to climate change at different rates, which can throw entire ecosystems out of sync. This new research shed light on the impact of this issue on bird populations across North America. The study, which is the most extensive of its kind to date, links changes in bird breeding times and the arrival of spring to a decrease in bird populations. Using data from a continent-wide bird banding program, researchers looked at 41 species of migratory and resident birds. They discovered that there's an optimal timing for breeding in relation to when the vegetation they rely on greens up or comes out of dormancy. If birds breed too early or too late in relation to this green up, their productivity decreases. The study also found that even though bird breeding times have been somewhat responsive to changes in green up, they're not keeping pace with the rapid shifts brought about by the climate crisis. This is especially true for species that migrate longer distances. These findings suggest that as the climate continues to change, many bird species may face declines in productivity due to a growing disconnect between their breeding cycles and the availability of resources they need to thrive. Now that you've heard the science, let me read the poem to you again. Spring unfurls her green, lessened by the rush of dawn's early touch. For fledglings in nests, the heartbeat of seasons, once steady and sure, now stutters out of sync. And a rhythmic pulse of ill-timed bloom and hasty retreat. Time, like a river, meanders in quiet spaces, leaving fields hushed, drained of vibrant voice and trilling song. A muted echo of the forest's former chorus. In the quieting refrain, the day is done, and those who lend an ear, who heed the softening song, bear witness to a hopeless, fading plea. In this section of the podcast, I'd like to share a poem written by another poet on a topic related to the science that has been discussed so far. In this episode, I'll be reading Sprung by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Gerard Manley Hopkins was an English poet and Jesuit priest who lived between 1844 and 1889, whose innovative style revolutionised Victorian poetry. While his work remained largely unpublished during his lifetime, it gained recognition posthumously for its unique rhythm, diction, and intense spirituality. Hopkins is best known for creating Sprung rhythm, a metre designed to emulate natural speech. His profound religious faith permeates his works, and he is esteemed for his exploration of nature and individuality. Today, Hopkins is celebrated as a pioneer of modernist poetry and a significant religious poet. Sprung by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Nothing is so beautiful as spring, when weeds in wheels shoot long and lovely and lush, thrushes' eggs look little though heavens, and thrush through the echoing timber does so rinse and ring, the ear it strikes like lightnings to hear him sing. The glassy pear tree leaves and blooms they brush, the descending blue, that blue is all in a rush. With richness the racing lambs to have fair their fling. What is all this juice and all this joy? A strain of the earth's sweet being in the beginning, in Eden garden, have get before it cloy, before it cloud, Christ Lord and sour with sinning, innocent mind and Mayday in girl and boy, most, O maid's child, thy choice, and worthy the winning. Thank you for listening to the Poetry of Science.
Thank you very much for being with us for this episode of the Idea Me Show. Idea Me is a global platform. Our mission is to move the human story forward by sharing knowledge of the future. You can find us on all major audio networks at www.radioideame.com, on YouTube and Vimeo. Please subscribe.